On a scale from 1 to 10, how confident would you say that you are speaking in English? If you're a 10, that's fantastic. But if you're anything lower than that, that's okay too. I'm a native speaker and I wouldn't give myself a 10 either. So in this lesson, I'm going to give you 10 morale boosting tips that are going to help you increase your confidence a lot when you speak English. Now, what do I mean by morale boosting? So imagine that you're a football player, maybe you already are, and your confidence is kind of low. What's something that you could do that would increase your confidence playing football? Oh, of course, scoring a goal. So in your English learning journey, there are 10 situations that when you do them will help your confidence go from here to here, just like that goal scoring player. However, if you let your shyness and your fear get the better of you, then unfortunately your confidence is gonna stay down here. If you're ready to become a confident and powerful English speaker, then let's do this. So on the side of the screen here, you'll see this checklist. And once you do some or all of these things, you're going to feel much more confident than before you discovered them. Trust me, I used to do these a lot when I used to go to language exchanges here in Barcelona, and I found that they helped me immensely increase my speaking skills and my confidence in Catalan and Spanish. And if you're new here and you are frustrated with the boring methods of learning English that just don't seem to work, then you're in the right place. Every week we help learners just like you to make their English learning more fun and to speak English more comfortably, naturally, and confidently anywhere and anytime. So if that sounds good to you, then join our community of over 300,000 learners from around the world by hitting that subscribe button and the bell down below, and you won't miss a single one of our fantastic new lessons. So there's no better confirmation that a conversation is going well than when you say something funny and the other person actually laughs. I rely on this a lot when I'm speaking other languages to help to release the tension in the conversation. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be a joke. It can just be something spontaneous that you say that kind of makes a funny observation in the moment, or maybe you're using a new funny word that you learned, although I would not recommend that you abuse curse words too much. But it could be a joke that you learned in English. In fact, Andrea and I made this lesson, a podcast lesson, which is free to download down in the description below, where you can learn a ton of funny dad jokes, they're called, in English. Ultimately, what really matters is that when you make that other person laugh, they become more relaxed and comfortable with you, and you become more comfortable in the situation as well. It can be the first step towards actually creating a meaningful relationship with that person that you've just met. And I'm sure that's why you're learning English, because you want to actually be able to connect with people from all around the world. All right, so this is one of the most feared moments in speaking a foreign language, when you actually have to make a phone call. I have to admit that to this day, I still really avoid having to make phone calls in Spanish and Catalan. Oftentimes, I even will make a list, I'll write out like a script of what I want to say, what possible things they could ask me, and what would be my response to those things. Or even if it's just a quick phone call, while the phone is ringing, I'll be going over in my head, what am I going to say once the person picks up? So this can be, even for the most advanced speakers, something that can be very difficult. The reason for this is because we rely so much in communication, even in our native languages, on that person's body language. We depend on what are the facial expressions that they're making. Can they understand you? So this is easy when you actually can see someone's face and you notice pretty quickly if they're not understanding you, right? But when you're on the phone, you lose all this. And in addition to this, there's vocabulary that we tend to use only in situations where we're talking on the phone. Furthermore, there's etiquette that you're supposed to use when you're on the phone. Anyways, when you have the chance to speak on the phone in English, embrace the opportunity. This is a really big challenge for you with your speaking. Don't make the mistake that I did and ask a friend of yours to make the phone call for you. Actually, lean into that challenge. So if you're like me and this is a situation that you struggle a lot with, or you just haven't had that much experience doing it, then you can actually create these opportunities for yourself. So if you're living in an English-speaking country, obviously you can, for example, order pizza over the phone instead of doing it online or via an app. and this is a really great way to practice that vocabulary that you need when ordering something. If you don't live in an English-speaking country, then you could call some place in your city that you know the people will speak English, even if it's not their first language, and pretend that you're a tourist and ask some different questions and stuff. I've even talked to some students that have called numbers in the United States or in Canada and have had conversations with people. Like, for example, I had one student who would call to companies for cable TV or for satellite TV and would pretend that they're going to buy a package. You can be really creative here and find all sorts of opportunities to practice your phone speaking. And if you're like me and it's difficult for you, then as I said, you can write out a script beforehand and practice that by yourself before you actually make the phone call. You can think about some different words that you might need that you don't already know and look those up. Just be really creative here and have fun with it. If you fulfill your purpose for the communication, then that is a win and it's something that you should be proud of. And by the way, if this is something that you struggle with, then definitely check out this lesson that we made over on Learn English with TV series. They'll help to give you some basics for phone English. All right, so this one is actually writing, not speaking, but writing is a really great way to get in practice in a more comfortable and safe way before you actually have to go out there and have a conversation with someone. Since it tends to not be direct, you have a little bit more time to think about your answer. You can even go look up a word that you need and things like this. You can get more opportunities to do this by following channels like ours, of course, and instead of just leaving a note in the comments that says, "Thank you for this lesson," try to actually think about something more elaborate that you could say. Actually saying something specific that you learned in that lesson and really challenging yourself to use some new words that you've just learned. I recommend too, find different channels around your interests in English and also take advantage to comment there. Maybe you can even get in a discussion with someone and make a new friend that's part of that community. You don't necessarily need to do this just on YouTube either. You can follow people on Instagram if you prefer that platform. You can follow people on Twitter, but just find a lot of accounts that have to do with things that you're interested and find those opportunities to leave different notes, to leave comments, and to practice writing things. Especially on these different social networks, we tend to use more informal language. So this is very similar to the type of language that you'll be using when you do get the opportunity to speak. So you may be thinking, these tips are really great, Ethan, but what if I don't have anyone to speak with? And if you're watching this video, maybe you've had some opportunities already to speak English with other people, but maybe you have never actually spoken English with another person. I remember the first time that I got an exchange partner online was with Hebrew. And I knew some basic greetings like shalom and ma kore, but then I didn't really know how to continue the conversation in a natural way after that. So I pretty much just told myself, you know, I need to just study a bit harder, which I did. I studied harder. I took advantage of every opportunity to speak. I made sure that I was at least doing that once per week with my teacher and once per week with a speaking partner. And in doing this, I really saw a lot of progress in my Hebrew speaking. Even if I was making grammar mistakes and stuff, it was really the most important thing was that I was using the language to connect with other people. So for you as an English learner, it is easier than ever to get out of your comfort zone and start speaking English with people. There are all sorts of technologies for this. I'm sure you know Skype, Zoom, WhatsApp, maybe you're using some of these already, but where do you actually meet people? Well, we tried to solve this problem for you of not having enough opportunities to speak by creating the RealLife English app. Now this has to be one of the easiest way for you to practice your English anytime, anywhere, because you enter in the app, you create your profile, and you press a button, and you'll be instantly connected to another person, another English speaker in another part of the world for a fast, dynamic, and fun conversation in English. And the great thing about this is that you're not only going to practice your English and put all of the tips that you're learning today to use, but you can make friends from all around the world and you can discover other cultures. You can broaden your worldview. You can have a conversation about your passions, about your life, about some hobby you have, or you can just talk about the weather if that's what you feel comfortable with. So if you have not had many opportunities to speak English, then using the RealLife app can be a great small win for you. And it can even be a huge win if you start using it consistently. So you can use it for hours every day if that's what it allows, or you can just use it for 15 minutes. You can take a coffee break at your work and connect with someone, have a 5-minute conversation, and then go back to work. Whatever is convenient for you, we want to make this a really accessible tool for you, and it's absolutely free. So you can learn more about that and download it now by clicking up here or down the description below, or just search for RealLife English in the Apple app or Google Play Store. All right, so let's talk about probably what's one of the most difficult tips that we have on this list today, and that is public speaking. Now, this might already make your palms sweat. It might make you start to shake a little bit just thinking about it, just imagining yourself out on a stage. I know that for me, this is still one of the biggest challenges in my native language. So if you're kind of shy like me, then this can be a great way to step outside of your comfort zone and get some real life practice. In fact, I had an interview with Emma from English, you may have heard of her, last year, and she has had some opportunities to do this herself in English, and she gave us some tips for it.
And so that fear, that anxiety is something that I kind of ride on a little to help me take that leap or step into the unknown or a new experience. So as much as the discomfort of public speaking, of getting up in front of a bunch of people on stage and trying to be funny and coherent is really not my idea of a good time. But also knowing that the experience of doing it is essential in order to continue moving forward or pushing a little further outside of that comfort zone.
And maybe you don't have these opportunities to give a presentation at work or to get up and give a TED Talk or get on a stage somewhere and motivate people or talk about some expertise that you have. But that's okay. You nowadays with the internet, you don't need an actual stage. If you have a camera, if you have a phone, then why not just film yourself talking about something that you're passionate about and put it on Instagram or put it on YouTube. Really, the important thing is just getting yourself out there, getting out of your comfort zone, because if you're doing this, then when you do get those opportunities to speak English with someone, you'll already have had all this practice. And the great thing about giving a speech somewhere, be it on a stage or be it on YouTube or another social network, is that you can do all sorts of rehearsal for it. So you can write out a script or write out speaking points first. You can practice doing it a few times before you turn on the camera or before you have to get in front of that audience. So it's not spontaneous like going out there and having a conversation is. And I used to do this with a lot of my students. I would have them film themselves speaking and upload it onto YouTube just as a private video that they could just share with me as their fluency coach. And this is a great practice because just the fact of filming yourself, even if you don't share it with anyone, or even if you just share it with a few close friends or with a teacher or something like that, is a great way for you to get out of your comfort zone. So I really recommend that you give it a try, whichever place on that spectrum you feel the most comfortable with or uncomfortable with, depending on your case, then put yourself out there and give it a go. If you want to take it to the next level, then you can get a coach or a teacher who can go over your speech with you and help you to make corrections or suggest better language that you can use. Or you could even join a group like Toastmasters. Now, I think this exists pretty much everywhere in the world. And if not, there are online groups that you could do as well. So you could practice your speech giving over Zoom or something like that. Just do something that's going to give you more speaking opportunities, that's going to get you a bit out of your comfort zone and help you to increase your confidence. Now, if public speaking is the most nerve-wracking tip that we have on this list, this is probably the second most. Maybe it's even more so for some of you. And that's going in for a job interview.
Sit.
Now, why is this so scary to have to do a job interview? Well, in general, it's because there's a lot on the line. Usually you'll really want to get that job that you're interviewing for, and so it's super important for you that it goes well, right? That you are able to not freeze up speaking, that you're able to think of the words that you need in that situation. But have no fear, because you can do some different practicing. Again, if you have a teacher or coach that can help you to do some of the common questions, and you can think about and practice your answers beforehand, and then they can give you feedback. Or if you don't have a teacher, you can even just do this on your own. Again, filming yourself, watching yourself, and giving yourself feedback. I had guest Natasha Broody on Beyond Borders not so long ago, and she's done something like 1,000 interviews in English. And something that you might want to do if you're trying to get a job in another language is apply for some jobs that are kind of below your level so that you know you're guaranteed to get called in for an interview, just to get the practice. It's like you don't care at all about actually getting that job, but this is going to help you just to build your confidence, to practice answering some of those questions, you'll feel under pressure even if you don't really care about the job, so it's going to help you to react in English under pressure, and this is really going to boost your naturalness and your confidence speaking English. A classic question that you might come across in a job interview is some variety of "tell me about yourself." Now, the secret to nail answering this question is to speak relevantly and briefly. So you don't want to give like a 10-minute summary about your life. You want to just talk about things that are really relevant or really important for your role in this potential job. Just imagine once you've nailed some job interviews, how much easier it's going to be to have an informal conversation with an acquaintance or a friend in English. So even if you're not planning on getting a new job, this could be something that you want to consider trying out. And if you're planning on going to a job interview in the near future, then I highly recommend that you check out this lesson that we did that gives you a bunch of tips that could help you out. Okay, so transactional language. This sounds a lot more complicated than it is. This is the type of language that you'll use in different situations where you need to order or buy something. So that could be that you need to call someone, like a travel agency, to order a plane ticket. It could be that you are ordering food in a restaurant. It could be that you're talking to a clerk at a place where you're trying to buy some clothes or anything like that. Now, this might sound like it's really easy, but I've met even a lot of advanced learners that aren't really familiar with the language that they need in these kind of situations. And it's really common if you're not traveling to an English-speaking country or you're not living in an English-speaking country, then you won't really be using this vocabulary so often. So depending on your goals with your English, this may or may not be very useful for you. Anyways, having the chance to order your food in the restaurant without many issues, or making a reservation over the phone at a restaurant, going to a clothes store and being able to ask for exactly what you need, or maybe navigating your way through an international airport. All of these are really great small wins that can help to give you a boost in your confidence communicating in English. So if you think that it might be possible that you will need some of this English, that you'll be in one of these situations in the future, then we have a few different lessons that will help you out a lot to learn the phrases and words that you will need. So we have one for the airport, for the hotel, for the restaurant, and for shopping. So you can find all those linked down in the description below. Now, when I was in high school, one of my favorite classes that I had was the debate class. So learning all about how to make a successful argument. Now, this is, again, it's really difficult even for native speakers to be successful in situations where we have to debate something or have a discussion about something and persuade the other person that what we believe is correct. Now, this might be useful for you depending what you want to do with your English to learn some of the different language that you need for this. There's some different language functions that might be very helpful for trying to persuade someone or for having a debate. And these are making suggestions, knowing how to agree or disagree with someone's argument or someone's beliefs, challenging someone's ideas in a way that doesn't sound too rude or aggressive, dealing with a problem that you might have. And this can be really useful even outside of having an actual debate with someone, but maybe you're in a restaurant and your food came too cold. You want to know how to ask them to heat that up without doing it in a way that sounds really rude. So learning about all these things will help you to get through a discussion with someone in a much more elegant, successful, and polite way. And a really interesting alternative that you can look into is improv or improvisation. Now, I think most cities have different clubs for these, and you might do it in your native language, which will still help you because you'll get better at dealing with different spontaneous situations. But if you can do it in English, that's even better. I know here in Barcelona, for example, there are some different clubs that have improv in English. So if you live in a city with a lot of foreigners, this might be a possibility for you. Otherwise, you can definitely find Facebook groups or groups that meet to have improv classes online. So definitely something for you to look more into. And we've never done any lessons on English for debate or discussion, persuasion, or improvisation. So if that's something that you think would be useful for you, then let us know by commenting down below. Well, if you're learning English, ultimately it must be because you want to make better connections with people. Be it that you are living in an English-speaking country and you want to make local friends, or be it that you're just learning English so that you can connect better at work, be better at your job, or maybe get a promotion or get a job where you're working remotely. For any of these things, all of the tips that we've seen so far are going to be really helpful for you in achieving your goals. And ultimately, making friends for me and my language learning has been the biggest motivator to keep going, to keep learning more, to keep increasing my confidence. Because once you have friends, you want to get the skills necessary to make better connections with them. Maybe if you're living in an English-speaking country, or if you are active in different communities online, you might even start up a romantic relationship with someone where you have to communicate in English. I have a lot of friends that this has happened to. It's brought them across the world to meet that person, to live with that person, to even get married to that person. So you never know what's going to happen. Anyways, I'd love to hear about your experience in English. Have you actually been successful in making meaningful connections with anyone in English? How did you do it? Where did you do it? Why don't you let me and your fellow learners know down in the comments below? I'm just really curious to see what stories you guys will bring. And of course, we have one more tip for you that's going to help you to boost your confidence, and that is teaching English, of course, in English. So a really long time ago, Aristotle said that teaching is the highest form of understanding. And this is absolutely true in my experience. Really, when you can actually teach something to someone, it means that you've gotten to a level where you understand that thing really deeply. If you have a hard time explaining it to someone, then it's probably because you really haven't come to fully understand it yourself yet. And this is so true when you're teaching a language. So I know I've gotten to know the English language as a native so much better by being a teacher, all these things that I never really realized. I've created a much more profound relationship myself with my native tongue. And I find this is true too when I get the opportunity to speak other languages that I've learned, because it'll help me to understand things in a different way when I have to explain it to someone else. It can help me to even discover new things about it that I didn't realize. Now, this doesn't have to actually be that you formally are becoming a teacher, that you're taking all the exams and all the studies that you need to do that. It can just be informally helping someone. Maybe you have a younger sibling or a friend or a spouse who wants to improve their English, and why can't you help them if your level is better than them? This could be going on the RealLife English app and maybe meeting people and just helping them out, teaching them new words. It's definitely not that you have to be completely already a master of English yourself, completely fluent or completely like a native in order to teach something to someone who doesn't know as much as you. This can also help you to fill the gaps in your own knowledge of English. So if your student or the person that you're helping in English asks you a question about why is this said this way, or what does this word mean, and you don't know, well, it's an opportunity for both of you to learn it in that moment. You can look up the answer online, or if you can't find it, maybe you have a teacher that you can ask or anything like that. But the important thing is this is helping you to increase your confidence, it's putting you outside your comfort zone, and it's helping you to grow as both an English learner and a teacher. Maybe you're not interested in actually teaching English, but there's something else that you're really great at. Maybe you're a marketing professional, or you really love tennis. Any of these things you can also teach in English to someone else who's interested in that thing. Find these different opportunities, and this is really going to give you those small little wins that you need to take your confidence to the next level. I think the really important thing is just being super curious, getting creative, finding different and new ways to improve, and putting yourself in those situations that you don't feel so comfortable in so that you can grow. All right, so today we looked at these 10 things that you can do to increase your confidence in English. Hopefully they've given you some new ideas. And I'm really curious, have you tried any of these already? What was your experience like? Why don't you let me know down in the comments below? And something certainly that's going to give you more confidence when you speak is becoming more natural in your speaking, reducing your accent, having correct pronunciation so that people can always understand you. And learning about connected speech is a great way to kind of get that flow that you need to speak naturally. So I highly recommend that next you watch this video that's going to teach you how to understand and even imitate native connected speech. Let's check out a clip from that. When I said run out of, did you actually hear how I said that part out of? Now, I didn't say out of, I said outa. Now, this is how most Americans will pronounce this. That T sound in the middle actually warps to kind of a D sound. Now, this is very similar to the R sound in Latin languages like Spanish and Portuguese. So it's just a very quick flick of the tongue at the top of the mouth. So I didn't say outa, I said outa, outa.